Alright guys, so this is the impromptu. For those that don't know, this is Brian Seipp from my team, Ignite, and this is Lewis Smith from Team Ignite. Together, we are Team Bermondsey.
That's true.
We all live in the same area in London. In fact, these guys live like a 5-minute walk from my place, so I thought it'd be cool to have him around. We talked about Brian's list on the pre-LGT kind of prelude episode, and Orks have changed a lot, I feel like. We didn't talk about Lewis's list, T'au, which has also changed a lot and is really popular, so I thought it'd be cool to get both of you guys around. We've just been snacking on Britain's finest cuisine, which is, of course, chicken tikka curries from down the road from us. This is the most scuffed version we've done because the microphone is on a dehumidifier in front of us, and this is the same room, but we're all on the couch. So, welcome to the studio, which is also, as you can probably tell, my daughter's room. So that's how we do it here. But so I thought we'll probably go today. We'll go through the list and the meta, and it'd be good to get you guys' opinions on kind of how your factions have changed. But also, what are your thoughts going into the tournament, Brian? You LGT, it's another year. It's the biggest singles tournament to date. With 1,092 players, which is bigger than LVO.
Yeah, I mean that alone is super exciting. I think Vic said it as well on the earlier episode. That has kind of been something he's been waiting for, and I feel the same way. You know, it's always been like just right behind LVO, and I do kind of agree. I feel like it is the better event. Yeah, I think it's a tougher.
Oh, we're sponsored by Frontline Gaming, mate. You can't say that.
Yeah, I think it's a tougher competition as well. You get a lot of really good players go to LVO, but you get a lot of international players here too, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. And it's players that are bringing interesting and new things to a meta, maybe in a disproportionate level than I think to say like LVO. You have international people go to there as well, but not as many, right? We get a lot of French, German players, and all over the place are coming in. It's really, really pretty exciting. So, yeah, I mean, I'm really excited. I'm a little nervous about being, butts to nuts with everybody in the room.
That is the downside about UKTC and LGT is that, holy, there's not a lot of space there.
Yeah. So I think we might be reaching a point where we need to move to a different
venue. Yeah.
Maybe the Excel Center, that'd be nice.
Yeah. But they can have some games at my place. So
exactly.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, the tournament's going to be big this year. I don't think it changes how many people... Maybe it changes how many people are in the Shadow Round. There might be like a little bit of a bigger Shadow Round because I think there was 4 people last time. Me, Lewis, Innes, and the gentleman playing Nick.
Probably. I think it actually might reduce the number of people in the Shadow Round that are actually playing.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm pretty sure it's like 512 to 1024. No, actually, it's a couple extra now. 1092.
Maybe there's like one more.
So so there might be like a little bit extra on the Shadow, but it shouldn't be too much. I think it'll be a similar experience to the last year's.
My understanding though is, and probably the favorite thing for me about this event is that all you have to do is keep on winning. And I don't think that's changed, and I think that makes it quite unique for a UK event. Is that it's about winning, not about
points. Trying to get more points than the other person.
Yeah.
That little mini game is not very much fun to play.
Yeah, I mean, it does affect if you have to play the Shadow Round or not, but like at that point, you're probably like, okay,
you're in the zone. You already have an Eastern all day,
or
you're numb. Or numb from standing.
If you were me last year, I was extremely ill, and I was definitely not in the zone. In that last game,
I was playing you for who bought the taxi home.
Yes,
I lost that game to buy the taxi home. No, I won that game, but I had to buy the taxi.
I feel like in a tournament like LGT, you kind of always think there's like 1,000. Let's just say there's 1,100 players. Like, you would think, nothing happens until, like, round 5, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's always something that happens, like, round 3, someone gets knocked out, or, like, round 4, someone gets knocked out, And,
there's such a huge collection of good players here that, like, something interesting will happen.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, like, was it 2 years ago? Vic knocked out, like, the entirety of Team Ignite, pretty much, on his way. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So, I know, and before Vic knocked me out that same year, I played Saga, the previous winner.
Same with me. Yeah.
So it's like there's just so many good players. You're gonna have some interesting games come up no matter what. Yeah. Multiple streams, I think, this year too.
Yeah, I think UKTC's got a stream with Tom Lohman.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And then War Games, I think, is here as well.
Yes, good to see Joe back. Go if you're watching this, go and do not give any ad revenue to us. Just go and actually donate to Joe because the guy's a force of nature.
Yeah.
I remember last year I played Ash Kiantan from Singapore, and then I played Carl Grundy, and then I played Alex Harrison, and then I played Lewis in my one day or something like that. It was Oh man, yeah, that was
it's a strong.
That's not fair because I had to play you, and I also had to play Nassim and Brian.
Yes, you played. Yeah.
So what can I say?
Yeah, yeah, you had a hard run towards there in the end as well.
Yeah, I had to go through you. So yeah.
Well, that was quite easy on that board. So you just roll in some dice at me.
Yeah, exactly. I
remember when your piranha melted my hellhound or something.
Better to be lucky than be good.
This is foreshadowing, by the way, for when Dave analyzes Lewis's list.
Yeah.
So roll some dice at me, and that's all.
I noticed you had the piranha in there, and so I was like,
tech choice for our matchup.
all right. Yeah. So like, obviously, we just played ETC the last weekend in the Netherlands. You were playing Orks there as well, but it was pre-slate.
Yep.
You were playing Thousand Suns, and now you're playing T'au. Spoiler alert. Were you feeling the T-Suns at all, or were you just like, man, the nerfs are way too big?
Well, I guess for personal context, I've played quite a few different armies in the year, so I think at some level returning to T'au for this event is quite nostalgic for me because it was about a year ago when I had played them last at like a competitive event. Yeah. So taking them to LGT and then the World Championship at Atlanta. So I think I've had a year and I see of playing different armies and varying playstyles, which is in some ways the best way to improve at the game because you learn different aspects of a game compared to a monophase army. Thousand Suns, I was playing last year as well when it was the Index, and then I put that down. That army at that point of 10th edition had been through many iterations of rules and points and ups and downs. So I think when that book came out in May and we had done a little content together and all three of us had actually played the army at one point, I think it was going to be that nice period to try it through basically spring and summer, and I had some nice success in playing that army. I think there's almost an inevitability after you play like over 50 games or something where you start to question whether you want to play at any more events because there's repetitious elements of play patterns. I think Thousand Suns is an army which lends itself to that as well. Like the best way to get good at it is to remember the sequences, but that's also a weakness in some ways for enjoyment of the game when you're a bit on autopilot. So
you obviously you're a bit burned out of Thousand Suns. But also the nerfs were, I guess, a decision factor.
Yeah,
as well,
it was a good excuse which I already had in my mind going into this event. Yeah, I think for Brian especially, because you were playing Black Templars before and then it's largely untouched with the data slate. We've had basically 2 weeks. If that, or a week maybe, to decide on our lists between the data slate as well. Everyone attending the event for the most part. So there was a bit of a scramble. But I think returning to Thousand Suns is there's definitely still viable builds. I was looking at some of the lists which are submitted to LGT, and I saw some things which I thought definitely had play. People were still able to fit in Grand Coven, for better or for worse, Magnus, 10 Terminators, the Demon Prince Wings with the Vortex. Like all three of those units are just as good as they were before the slate. They just have less chaff on top of that. So I think it's still a sensible army, but it's definitely less represented. I think my choice is let's just say returning to that important theme of playing something you're comfortable with.
Yeah, for sure. That was the same with me as well. I wanted to go with something I was comfortable with and like had good knowledge on, despite whether or not it may have some limitations on the boards. I think. I just thought, if I like get into matchups, like I was really worried about one aspect, which is like, what if I just play like a big shooting army that like doesn't let me get on the board? And I was like, well, at the end of the day, like every army's got its weakness, and like if I just play combat armies, then I'll be like fine because I got good experience in that, and I can like play that with my detachment, and my army's kind of good in that matchup. It looks like the meta that we're in right now that's been a bit more prevalent as well potentially.
Yeah. You can't go to bed at night worrying about piranhas.
No.
So
yeah.
we're never going to play another game of Warhammer. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Brian, what about you? Playing Orks? Back to
thing? Well, Liam and I made a suicide pact to run it back.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's why he's playing vets, and I got the better in that deal because my Orks are significantly better than they were last year.
Yeah. You feel like they're in a better state now?
Oh, for sure. I mean, the WoD change happened after.
Yeah.
So that alone puts me infinitely more better position than before. I think there's one of the big advantages I had last year, I think at least, was that Orks were a very unknown quantity. And what I was doing with them, with the 20-man Boyz units, was similarly kind of unknown. People know how to play against. So
sure.
I think that's still true. I think that, people are a little aware of what this package that's kind of on my list can do, but they don't have experience playing around it. And I think that's going to go a long way to, helping in a lot of matchups that might otherwise be a little tricky. Plus, I'm just really, I have a lot of reps with Orks. Playing at ETC, I think I played 2 games of Orks in the lead up to ETC, but that was with the 800 games of Orks I played before that, right? So it felt like riding a bike. It was really really nice. So leaning on that kind of muscle memory, having I don't have to think about the tempo. I don't have to think about how I'm going to position. It just kind of happens naturally, and I think I'm able to lean on that now, which gives me an advantage, I think, in any game when you're going into it with, as you said, playing an army really well. You gain that advantage and that edge against people who are maybe playing the new hotness and something you're not familiar with, right?
Yeah, I definitely think there's an element of historically, I think at LGT there's been this is the best army in the game, right? I think you could probably argue last LGT is probably Guard, actually, right? With 18 Bulgaren, I think that was the kind of what people were looking at, right?
Yeah.
Year before that, it was kind of all the Necron Warriors and stuff. I think when you listen to the chatter, so to speak, I think there's a element of playing the best army can also be your biggest downfall sometimes because people take against that. But also the opposite is basically exactly true. Whereas if you play something that's unpopular, and I think Orks is probably in that category right now, right? Don't think it's a popular army. Playing something that's unpopular, people don't have familiarity with. Whether or not their list is good against it, they don't have familiarity with it. Especially something that's just changed as well, right? So
I think also another coincidence that isn't a coincidence that we shouldn't forget is that LGT follows WTC. The best emerging armies from WTC tend to be the ones which people gravitate to for LGT. Because it wasn't just Guard last year. I think the Dark Angels build with the Deathwing Knights in Gladius was extremely popular, and that was prevalent at LGT. And I think what we're going to get onto, Sisters as well. What we're going to get onto is probably World Eaters was an overperformer.
I think it was a major advantage I felt, at least last year, playing at LGT, was having after my first year on the US team as well. So first year having really good preparation and playing at a really high level with these armies. So I felt I came into that event with so much knowledge and expertise.
Even if you kind of know, even if you're not playing the same army, you know how all the other armies work.
Exactly.
Right? I was the same as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I feel like that'll be, hopefully that'll translate again here. I think there's a nice asset there, and then combine that with the uncertainty. It should be really good.
Nice, awesome. Well, why don't I go through your list, man? Remind me, what changes did Orks have in the balance status league?
So they got a bunch of points drops, which is nice.
Were any of them relevant?
Yeah, decent numbers. Some of which are in this list, some of which are not. So a couple of the big squig monsters got cheaper, quite a bit cheaper, but still not quite at the level I think. But the big thing is that a lot of the shooting assets had the points that were added onto them after DACA reverted.
Oh, okay.
So 10-man flash kits, for example, dropped 10 points.
Yeah, okay.
Which is nice. Yeah. And then Luda's got cheaper. And then there were a couple other assets that got cheaper. Snickrock, you'll see him a lot at the event. He went from 95 points down to 75.
Okay.
Which is a great price point for him. This is a guy who can teleport once per game, loan up, reasonably killy, but loan up in a combat army is so powerful.
And he gives you a bunch of utility.
Yeah, exactly. He's just a really good asset. I had considered him for my list for a bit there.
Yeah.
He's just so good. But then the main thing that happened though are rules changes. So some pretty key ones, I think. First off, Gaz went from taking up 15 places in a battle wagon plus Makari for 16 to now taking up 4 places plus 1.
So big Gaz are a little bit smaller.
Gaz went on a diet. He hit the Ozempic. He's lost a ton of weight, and he's really down to fighting shape right now. So,
but he still hits just as hard.
He hits just as hard. Well, he lost all the fat, not the muscle. So that's huge, I think.
I think on a side note, I think it's really cool whenever the Primarch for the army is really good. You know what I mean?
For sure.
It's just such an easy thing to do, Games Workshop. Just make them big. Gaz obviously is a really cool model as well, right? So it's kind of cool when the big guy kind of slaps.
Yeah, the centerpiece models. It's really nice.
Yeah.
The other change for Gaz, which is quite significant, is that he can join different units. So before he could only join Meganops.
Yeah, which are the Terminator Orks.
Which are a pretty good unit, but they're a unit that is sometimes challenging to activate. They're a little slow, and oftentimes if you want to take Gaz, because he has a force multiplier ability where he gives an aura of lethal hits.
Yeah,
which is quite powerful in an army like Warhorde. where they have access to like crit fives.
That doesn't really synergize with Meganobs as well.
Not as well, but also you had to take 2 Meganobs with Gaz, because in order to unlock some of his better rules, like crit fives and during the wall and stuff like that, you had to lead.
Oh, right,
Yeah, so, but now that because Gaz can lead other units, you don't have to have that kind of 70.2 Meganob tax. I think it's a little cheaper now because they got cheaper as well. And then he can now actually join Boyz, which is huge, Breaker Boyz, and Knobs.
Okay.
Which is really great. So going through my list here, you can kind of see some of the ways around which supporting that. So
and we just talked about before how like before the episode, Brian was like, "Oh, Diaz doesn't always go with the 20 boys, right?
Yeah,
so you can mix and match them a little bit."
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
so I'll
cool.
talk about some of that as well. So the kind of the leaders I've got here is Gazcall with his little buddy Makari, the best Shadowfield in the game, and then a Big Mech with +2 move. A Big Mech is something which I'm really surprised I haven't seen more of. Since
that didn't really take on very well, did it?
Yeah, which is really surprising to me.
No one listened to you after the last event.
It was just like to me it solves one of the fundamental weaknesses of a monophase army.
Yeah.
Against armies with lots of chaff, which is that they can move block you several times, kind of slow you down, and the Big Mech just functionally ignoring that.
It just gives you
huge
fly keyword.
Yeah,
basically,
I mean,
right?
in ETC, I remember there were a couple games where I played where, especially like I had a game against a lovely guy on I think it was this one, and it was a World Eaters game I think that was around, and I mean he would took his jackals I think and tried to move block the Battlewagon, and I had pointed out all different ways where I'm going to be able to ignore that and block it and all this kind of stuff. And they had to kind of take a step back and sit and think for almost 10 minutes, looking at the board and be like, I don't know how to solve this problem. And I was like, that is exactly why I took this unit. So, that's super powerful. And then he has an enhancement for +2 move.
Yeah.
And this combo is incredibly well with Gazcall, because 20-man Boyz units, one of the really cool things about them is that they get to have a second character if they're a large unit.
I was going to say, can you double join that? Oh, that's nice.
Yes. Yeah. So
that's like, how many points is that all up? There's like 450, maybe 500?
It's quite expensive.
Yeah.
But it also kills,
basically
everything. Everything it will connect with, and it's in the Wog turn, is going to die to this. And that's not like a hyperbole. I mean, it's got crit fives, lethal sustained, +1 hit, +1 wound.
It's got literally about 100 attacks.
Yeah,
or something, right?
It's so many attacks. Yeah. And then you combine the Big Mech in there, which lets them reroll advances, ignore move blocks with +2 move.
Yep.
Combine that with a stratagem for +2 advance, +2 charge.
Yep.
This unit can threaten your home objective on turn 1. It's probably not something you're really going to do, but this is incredibly quick, and it's a huge melee unit, which lets you swing in interesting ways, do abstract combat movements.
So the Big Mech moves 6 normally, and then 8 with the +2. So the whole unit gets +2 to move?
The whole unit gets +2.
Okay, right. And then you have +2 to advance.
+2 to advance.
And then you have reroll advance. So you basically move 8 +7, almost 15 with the whole unit. So, that's fast. And then you get +2 to charge.
+2 to charge as well, exactly. And it's this huge unit, which means if you have anybody nearby, you can oftentimes charge something that's relatively close to the target you actually want to hit, and just kind of swing out and hit the target you really want. With +2 charges, even more potent. So, it's just a really powerful combination.
Cool.
And then the boys themselves are just kind of regular guys, but they sticky objectives, which is useful in Orks as well. Kind of nice.
Orks have like some of the best chaff units in the game, though, right? Like Gretchen are like legitimately like very, very, very
Gretchen
good.
are fantastic. Yeah, they're 40-point unit that's OC2.
And do they like give you a CP or something?
They give you on half the time to give you a CP. In my case, 10% of the time to give you a CP.
Yeah.
And then, but they're just really, really useful. They're super easy to kill. They're T2.
Yep.
All that stuff. But even then, they have like a little run herder in the unit.
2 wounds.
Who's 2 wounds, T5 with a 5-up save. He's taking him in cover. He's got a 4-up save.
Nice.
He can take a decent amount of damage, because a lot of things that really threaten the Gretchen tend to be like these like indirect weapons, like the little top hats on a Chaos Knight or whatever.
Yeah.
That should indirect and stuff like that, and you get to take a couple of those on the Gretchen. It's fine.
Nice.
But you combine that again with the sticky
of
Gaz's unit. It's not as big a concern if you lose those guys in the back, right?
Yeah, for sure. And Gaz's unit's big. You can just string it back to your home field, and like you're
just-
probably
you
going to be
start
there
there.
anyway, because like the unit's quite big, obviously,
Yeah.
right? Like model size, right?
Yeah, you can oftentimes just even start the unit there and if you go second. Easy peasy, right?
You got 2 units of 6 Breaker Boys.
Yeah, 2 units of 6 Breaker Boys, as well as 2 Knob units. And to go with these, I have 2 War Bosses. So there's a little sub game that goes on in Orks, which is I call Truck Math, which is trying to find.
Orks about to do some mathematics. Here
Trying to find the optimal combinations of the number 12, the number 22, with the various combinations of unit sizes, right? Because Battlewagons hold 22 people, and then trucks hold 12, and you really want to try and optimize the way that kind of fits. So, like, some examples of this are like Gaz with 20 boys is too big to fit a Battlewagon, right? But a War Boss with a Big Mech and 20 boys can fit in a battle wagon. 10 flash Gitz, gas call, and a breakable unit can also fit in a battle wagon.
Right.
So now you kind of mix and match here, right? But you can also have 2 breakable unit and knob unit, one of which is lead. In either case, that's 12 models.
Yeah.
Combine that with a flash kit unit, that's 22.
I feel like I need an IKEA instruction set to start looking at these.
I think now
there's a paper about this theory.
Yeah, exactly. One of the I think jokes I'm making is like truck math with the change the gas call. Truck math has now become more like truck calculus, where you just kind of move things around, right? So, but the breaker boys are really good. They're one of the only access to damage 3 in the army. Against some things with -1 or with -1 damage.
Yeah, like Demon Prince.
Demon Princes, World Eaters,
Yeah.
The -1 damage and World Eaters, all that kind of stuff. It's critically important to have something like that can do it. It's also really good against Knights.
They're just a good unit in general, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's hard to go wrong, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they're really solid. And then the knobs themselves are also kind of a volume unit with power claws, also really good at 2 damage. So which one the war bosses join usually depends on which one. Yeah, which unit is the more important one for the matchup.
Yep.
Then they join it because the war boss gets a +1 hit.
I was going to say you got some bomb squigs as well, which is nice for a second phase.
Yeah, that's true.
I was going to say, before we go on to the spice, which I think probably no one else is really playing, how come you didn't take some commandos? Because like they got a rules change as well, right? A unit of 10 can split into 2.
I think this is an incredibly good change. So it's 100. So commanders are one of the only 2 infiltrators. I think Snecross's the other one in the army. And before it was 120 points for a 10-man unit.
Yeah, and they're terrible, right? Like they do no damage basically.
They're okay. They're boys. They're boys with an extra damage 2 weapon. They have a bomb squig. They have an incredible data sheet roll. They just cannot be overwatched, which is incredible data sheet roll. But a 10-man squad for 120 points, it's really tough, right? Yeah. You don't really want to do that. So now with the slate, they can, when they buy 1, they break into 2 units. 120 points is basically a 60-point chaff unit that infiltrates and can't be overwatched. That's incredible. That I think might make it one of the best ones in the game. The points didn't quite line up. Every time I tried to make it work, it just didn't quite get there. Plus, like, I think with commandos, you really want to have one unit which can infiltrate up, and one unit which wants to be in a transport. And I really wanted to have kind of 2 Gretchen squads so I could screen my backfield, and then the 5 Gitz is like a random chat piece I could outflank or join a transport. And that's 120 points, 80 plus 40. Yeah. So there's kind of the decision point for me, and that's where the flex came from.
Nice, cool. And then we've got 10-10-5 flash Gitz.
Yeah, so I've had an itch in the back of my brain that lots of flash Gitz and Warhorde is really good for a while, and I've been really struggling to try and figure out how to fit them into a list. Every time I wrote a list, it just didn't feel quite right. The points reductions that happen on some things with flash Gitz coming down, and also the stealth points reduction of no 70-point tax on Mega Knobs. Which essentially added about 90 points to my previous Ork list.
Okay, yeah, nice.
Meant that I could actually fit more of kind of what I wanted to fit in here. So flash Gitz are a respectable shooting unit. They have 3 shots each, hitting on 5, sustained at 6-1-2. But against the closest target, they get extra shot. So they go up to 4. And then once per game, they can also do lethal. So get lethal sustained. It's a lot of shots. It's a lot of damage at damage 2. Even with the only AP 1, if they get a cover save, you're still making them take a lot of, say, 3-up saves or something like that. It's powerful. It's a unit which is not going to win the game with this shooting by trying to win a shootout, but it is good enough of a unit to force your opponent to respect it. Right? Like, I've definitely killed a Chaos Knight coming out of reserve that tries to make a charge in Overwatch, right? It's like, I think you can definitely do. You give them 12 3-up saves, something like that, and they fail a couple more than they want to. Yeah, exactly.
Should give that.
And then in addition to that, they also are just knobs in combat with choppers. So they have in the WoW
T6 as well. Or?
They're T4, T5. Sorry, T5.
Okay, right.
But they have 2 wins each. 4-up armor save, which is super relevant in Orks with cover, going to 3, and then they have 5 attacks in the WoW at 6-1-1. Which is just a lot. There's 50 attacks. That also has sustained, so they're effectively hitting on 2s. You can make them crit 5.
So you can like disembark, shoot a bunch of shit,
exactly.
charge something, bonk people down.
And it's a unit which I don't mind trading in the middle. Because, again, the way the Orks are playing, I don't mind losing a 160-point unit if it activates the game for my entire army, right? So I think it's going to be quite good. I think it helps with a lot of the matchups that we had previously been okay at, but maybe had a slight struggle. So Emperor's Children, World Eaters is going to be good there, I think. It helps against Eldar.
A lot of World Eaters, too.
Yeah. Forcing some armies to just behave a little bit differently, like Eldar, for example, where they can't just full disrespect your shooting phase, is huge. It changes the entire dynamic of how they're allowed to play the game. in a way that significantly advantages the Orks in that space.
I have a question. Like, when you're building your list and you're going to submit, like, what were two of the armies that in your head you were like, okay, like I'm actually actively thinking about this army. How do I like put some stuff on my list to be good against it?
Yeah, I would say so. World Eaters are in my mind.
Yep.
Orks are always really good against Knights, so I kind of knew by registering, the Green Boys, I'd be okay there. I wanted to have a game against Eldar. Eldar historically has been a rather challenging matchup for Orks. Not as challenging as Vic might lead people to believe, but a challenging matchup for Orks. And I've got a couple assets now which really help, like the Boyz squad and the Flash Gitz both help a tremendous amount, I think, there, which is really nice. But I really kind of just wanted to make sure that I could play around almost any matchup and have a decent game into the field.
Yeah.
And then have a chance to kind of leverage both my playability with this army as well as my opponent's unfamiliarity with my army to hopefully get an edge and kind of get that win.
So I was gonna let's jump over.
And I'm gonna go big face here for a second, but we go over here. We did like the tier list recently here. Where we've got like
Emperor's Children, kind of Raven Guard, World Eaters, Aeldari, AdMech. Are there any of those that you're like, you're really worried about, or are you pretty much in the camp of like everything's relatively close? It kind of just matters how much experience you have with your army.
Yeah, I think the one that I'm most uncertain on, especially given the context of the UKTC boards, is probably the new Raven Guard list.
Yeah.
That one. I think if I go first, I probably just run it over.
I think you just jam everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think if I go second, though, it could get a little squirrely.
Yeah, you only get like one turn, and then the syndics come down, and then...
it kind of relies on like, do they kill a Battlewagon? And that's one of the things I love about Battlewagons is sometimes they just don't. Like T12 AOC cover, it's like maybe they don't. And then if it doesn't,
well, they didn't get +1 to wound as well, so they're winning on 4s rerolling.
Yeah. So they got so it's. They probably should kill me, but they might not. And also, there's always the escape valve in Orks. If you did kill me, I blow up in a careen. Right? And like careening with a Battlewagon that is no better feeling in the world. So.
Easy way to win a finals.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I think that was probably the one I'm most worried about. World Eaters. I think we happened at ETC too. When I played the World Eaters game, my opponent had 3 Forge Fiends. Which I think there was like when we were talking about it, I was like, oh yeah, that's better. The more shooting they have, the better.
Yeah. Because
the more combined arms they get, they are the better combat army.
Yes. Yeah.
And then, but not like tremendous. I think Orks are one of the better combat armies.
They're just really efficient when they stack up like their buffs. Yeah. And then they're
an army-wide final death.
It's really efficient.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that the assets I've added in have really helped improve that a decent amount. While I still maintain how good of a combat army I was. So that should be good. Generally, though, beyond that, though. I think it's just going to be the better player. Yeah. Hopefully wins. And I'm not wrong about that. There's some Marines lists that are going to be out there and stuff like that. But generally, I feel okay into most of the rest of this field.
Yeah, Ennis Wilson was playing the Ultramarine list.
Yeah.
With the Redemptors. Maybe that would line up well against you.
Yeah.
2 up save, -1 damage. But I feel like that doesn't have a lot of volume, though.
He doesn't have a lot of volume, and the Gas Call unit is going to do
Gas with 20 boys would be pretty hard to chew through all the boys, I would imagine.
Yeah,
he does have a Storm Raven.
He does. The Storm Raven is good, but the Storm Raven can be killed because it has to be in hover mode because if it flies, it's just going to die, as you experienced.
Don't know what you're talking
about. But I think that it's just a really good unit in general, and especially on these boards. And it'll probably be effective. But again, that's where we're kind of switching up maybe the guys start in the transport, right? So that's huge, right? So maybe I don't really need the +1 to wound in that space. The way I'm going to kill them is crit 5 lethal sustains, right? So I'm going to just give them a ton of saves. Yeah. And I'm going to see what happens.
Like bogging them down a lot, I think. Like reducing their model count down to like 4 models.
Yeah.
And then you have the other, then you have the mid and one side of the board, and you're in WAG on that turn. And then they're like, okay, I've got like 5 units, I need to deal with a ton of stuff.
That is I know I was like, because John Lennon also obviously played EC for us at Team USA, and I was listening to him talk to one of our teammates, Boris, about kind of how he approaches games in Emperor's Children, and it struck me how incredibly similar everything up to and including the go turn was for Emperor's Children compared to Orks.
Oh, right.
Where you're trying to set up this big turn, you're trying to set up a hit, you're trying to hit as many things as possible, trying to activation lock people. That it diverges wildly after that because Emperor's Children become this incredibly powerful army that kills everything, and Orks become this like anemic army that
they go down and then
kind of grab by the ankles trying to keep my score down. But But I think like in that same space, this times when Emperor's Children are going to do really well. You're going to see similar spaces for Orks doing really well as well.
Nice, awesome. Yeah, it's cool. I think AdMech's going to be an interesting one. I was actually really surprised that AdMech wasn't more popular because I think that's actually going to be really powerful.
Yeah, I think it's a tough army to play, tough army to buy.
Yes,
and also, I think on this terrain maybe it's a little bit worse.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like the chickens are really good on this terrain.
Chickens, I think, are good.
Yeah, that's like that shooting platform is incredible.
But I think UKTC. So I think like GW terrain and the couple experiences I've had seem like they have pretty deep lanes that hit relevant parts of the board. And UKTC feels like they have really good staging that can be exposed with an aggressive push, right? And you're relatively safe in your deployment zone, sort of. Spoilers, that might not be true in the next list we talk about. But I think like generally kind of that feels like the case. And so I think that some of the deeper lanes are better exploited through like strat reserve. And stuff like that, right? And I don't know that AdMech is trying to exploit that as much as other armies.
I feel like the move blocking is not as powerful in UKTC as well.
Do you feel that AdMech has gone over the edge in the most recent data slate or the previous one? Because I guess as well, people faction hopping won't be as much for what's quite a niche army. With a matter of weeks' notice.
It is super niche, I think, as well. It's not everyone's cup of tea, I think. And I think the playstyle is is quite.
It's very fiddly too to play.
The
models themselves
are transport.
I mean, it's hard to transport. It's hard to play with. The models are difficult to like actually move around the board.
I haven't gotten mine out of my shelf for like 3 years.
You really got to love the army. I do think it's very powerful. I think that like the practical logistics of playing the army have really hindered its adoption.
Which is
like to a disproportionate level than any other army in the game.
Ruststalkers and Infiltrators and obviously Terexia, all really fiddly models.
Plus
even chickens
are huge.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool looking army,
though. Yeah, they are cool. Yeah. I wish the Elytra Priests were better though. Like just make that unit cool. That's been bad for a very long time. Why don't we jump on to like T'au, man? I guess T'au have undergone some pretty big changes as well, right, Lewis?
Yeah, this is good fun for me because this army is so different to how it was the last time I played it. At the very least, in I think the macro strategy for approaching a game of 40k. At least with this detachment, I think it's had some positive changes with how the game has changed.
So I want to rewind really. I rewind really quick because T'au obviously had back-to-back buffs on both balanced data sets, right? With the guiding one previously, the one before this. Did that end up having that big of an impact or not really?
Yeah, and I don't. And this, what I'm about to say, should not belittle anyone's achievement at the events. I'm just not aware of it. As far as I know, T'au has not substantially improved in terms of winning events. In the last year. And win rate only means so much. So I think it's a challenging army. I think to play at a really high level and also compete with other armies. But I guess part of the reason I'm playing them is leveraging familiarity of the faction and my own player skill. But I think there is some strengths to it at the moment, which is apparent to me on UKTC. So I do think it is definitely in contention in a singles environment. So something which Brian said, which I wanted to return to, and I think it's quite interesting, is how you mentioned the World Eaters having Forge Fiends. And I think something which is kind of borne in mind for me is how the skewed list that the three of us think about a lot of the time aren't necessarily the lists that people will be running in singles events. If we're most of the last year have just been playing teams essentially, and like an army like World Eaters, when I was thinking about it, it's like, gosh, 60 berserkers and 3 to 20, that'll be a nightmare. But I don't think anyone will be deploying that on a singles event to play 5 rounds at a GT.
That's a really good point, actually.
And I think then like you like when you really get into the micro details, then you start to wonder whether these factions which are well represented but not performing as well as you think are better or worse depending on the context of where they're played.
I think that's right, because we've been playing a lot of teams. I don't think any of us have been playing a lot of singles recently, right?
No.
And I think a lot of our power level is kind of influenced from what we see in teams as well, right? Which is that we're usually competing in events where people are a little bit more dialed in, I would say, right? And you see some of the lists and you're like, oh, like Chris from our team at ETC recently was like, oh, I'm playing 70 berserks, like no forge fiends and stuff. And I actually went through a couple of the World Eaters players I recognized and saw that they had like demon princes, like one forge fiend and stuff like that. And those units like in our internal team are like completely discounted. Like you're never playing those.
Yeah.
And I think like that to me was really surprising. I was like, oh, I'm coming back to a singles event, maybe where the meta is like the average player skill is a bit softer. Because of the number of players, of course.
I think that is also it's less solved, right? I mean,
I feel like
we're coming from, because even though like I guess of the three of us, that was the one on the team, but you were involved with New Zealand a lot, and then obviously Lewis were involved in a lot of discussions we were having as the list came out and everything else. I feel like we're coming from a space where we feel like we have an understanding what the the true shape of the meta and the strengths are, and it's kind of like I said earlier. It's like it doesn't really. And sometimes you come to this event and it's like a bit of a breath of fresh air where you're like, oh, like we really are a bit kind of
a bit ahead.
You feel a bit ahead, for sure, because the meta does take a little while to solve, and a lot of the players that historically tend to kind of shape a lot of the meta that makes more of a final form take time off to play these events, right? So it's the first big event back.
And everyone individually attending this event is coming from lots of different communities where they play the game in their own way.
100%.
It's almost like I mean it's not always true that WTC has its own meta, but like they're much closer aligned between countries of what they're playing, and how it's like a hive mind effect of what we all think and can rank in terms of factions and how it's played. But I think the bottom line is that most people would go to an event like LGT. And I don't want to say hedge their bets, but they want to have something which is well-rounded and could have game into everything and can play every aspect of the game.
Yeah,
it's not looking to win the game necessarily in a single way.
Yeah, which also doesn't mean that they're like that we're right coming from WTC. Right? We're coming from teams. We're also in our own little insulated bubble. Yeah. So I'm hoping not to be proven wrong about what I understand to be about certain matchups and interactions in the game.
It makes you wonder if people discount like teams lists like far too quickly. You know what I mean? Like they're like, oh, that's a teams event.
I do think that people have a tendency to say like, all teams is such a different game. You got to play it so differently. But I think the reality is that nowadays, it doesn't really play that differently a lot of the times, right?
I'm playing the exact point for point same list.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like you just tend to play good Warhammer, try and get a win. I think a difference might be is if you get a really bad matchup. Maybe you don't take as risky plays, but I don't think you tend to be more skewed. You might be occasionally you're more okay with having a list which is more focused and more willing to have I just lose this kind of matchups if there's still a few. But even then, you can't have too many of those. So I think just teams lists in general translate quite well into different events.
Certainly better than they did a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
I think for sure. Yeah. Anyway, Lewis, your list. You're playing Mon'ka to start off with, right? Yeah. And most people in the tournament, T'au was like 5% of the meta, which was like, to me, I find that really surprising given their statistical provenance coming into the tournament.
I think so. And like, I guess the way I remember the army was kind of like the archetype I was playing it before, where I was playing Carry On with the Tiger Shark, and that worked for me.
The Patient Hunter?
Yeah, I'm the Patient Hunter, I guess. Well, that previous list, I guess, to compare it to Brian, the list he's brought has some similarities with what you're playing before, but it had buffs in rules. I think what I was playing before got worse in many ways. So I think, because you were kind of asking this before, they've got a change to the guiding rules, where now effectively it rewards for having lots of units because you only need a single spotter to get the buff. Well, the previous list and style I was playing didn't benefit from that whatsoever because it relied on large activations. The Tiger Shark took a whole guiding mechanic, and that was the only thing it did. And that model went up in points. So in a sense, that list was double taxed. I think as a kind of just a general outlook on the meta overreaching going into this as well, I was conscious that there wouldn't be as many kind of gun line skewed armies where you're in a shooting meta. There will still be some knights, but we're expecting a lot of pressure and melee. And we've all seen the World Eaters as the most represented faction at this event, and I think we're all kind of on point of expecting that to be up there. So having a model which has to come on from strategic reserve is not really where I wanted to be
with
it, and I gave it a few games when I returned to it.
Yep.
After playing Thousand Suns, and I decided it was the wrong choice.
Yeah.
Do you want to maybe real fast recap some of the changes with your slates, like the rules change?
Yeah. So just to be more specific, so for the guiding mechanic, now instead of this strange bean counting exercise of which unit looks at what, it's now simply start the shooting phase, say which units are going to be spotters, and then just during the shooting phase, you just select based on one of those looking at your enemy units, which is your spotted unit, and then you just activate your units and they get the buffs. So it's a lot cleaner.
So now you're picking this stealth team is guiding into this target, and then everything that shoots that target now gets the benefit.
And then you can just kind of forget about that. You don't get confused with which units still need to be spotted because you're shooting the same thing again. So that's fine. You could do it during the shooting activation, so you could spot the thing which is popped out of a transport and kind of go on your way. It's much easier for your opponent to follow along as well. So that's quite an important thing to appreciate. They've had some point reductions on I guess like units which weren't as represented in the army, but I guess personally I'm not as familiar with that because I haven't been playing it most recently, and I didn't play them before. But battle suits have generally gone down. Some of the Kroot units have gone up because of the prevalence of the Kroot build, which I think you were touched by. And then and I actually think the single best buff just which I like was the Riptides as well, going from strength 8 to strength 10.
Yeah, how impactful is that
change?
It's ridiculous. So I think I was doing some math on it. So like previously a strength 8 Riptide with lethal or sustained shooting into a rhino averaged 4 wounds or 5 wounds. Now it can average I think it was like 9 or 10. So it's like it's gone from a model which is like 10 to 20% of the time killing a transport to now reliably killing the transport. And
that's huge.
And it's a really big deal. And also like strength 10 is a great break point because of T5. The only real rerolls in T'au tend to be, especially on vehicles, are ones. So I mean that in a consistency sense, that's quite nice. I think all in all it kind of it led me thinking there was a build out there, and I was a little worried going into the list design, although I'm very comfortable now with what I've chosen, with what was going to be the style of T'au list I was going to play. I think the detachment plays a huge amount into it as well, so maybe we should just dive into it. We're talking about Mon'ka.
I do. So, I guess I'd say little like behind the scenes sausage being made bit here is like you were really unsure about T'au, full stop. Not even like as early as like 2 weeks ago, right? It was like after you were like, oh, maybe I'll try him out. I'll see if it's any good.
Yes.
But then like I think you pretty quickly came around. So like
but like Lewis and I also played a practice match.
Yeah, and I was rusty and I lost really badly, and then I played that match up again. And I'm afraid I destroyed the Black Templar army. Yeah. So
Lewis quote unquote, I need a bit of a David pip talk on the WhatsApp.
I did tell you that. I was like, cheer me up.
I was like, just you just need. I was like, you could have won that game. You just need to play a bit tighter, play the more extended angles and stuff like that.
So, but from my perspective, looking at it seemed like you really came around on the army pretty quickly because you were started in a very skeptical place, and then like within a couple games you were like, this is really good. Yeah. I think there's a couple things in your list too, which maybe you picked up on pretty quickly, which has really resonated with me.
Yeah, so I guess
you want to go through it maybe.
I will. I think maybe just as a personal thing, it's just important to remember that like when you're playing the game, it's important to be confident and comfortable with what you're playing with. Yeah. I think it was definitely uncomfortable for me at first going in with this army because I hadn't played it so long. So I think what you're picking up on at some level was, and I guess it's nice to have friends who can remind you that you are good at the game and you can play it. But like I was looking at this army, which was something which I was once very comfortable with, and I was going into it.
It's also just a very different way of playing even the same army, right? Because I mean, I came back to Warhorde. I play Warhorde all the time for Orks, right? It's the same detachment. Yeah. You went from kind of this army that really wants to play towards the late game to now this army which really wants to murder your opponent very quickly, and it's just kind of a fundamental shift. And even with the same data sheets, very different.
But I remember even after Gal game, like actually Guard and T'au pretty similar in a lot of ways, right? Like you've got move block, and then you want to take like aggressive board edge line shooting lanes, and I was like, I could see like what was going to be really strong in your list. Yeah. And I was like, actually, this is like fundamentally a really strong thing you're doing. So just like,
I think actually, you've just reminded me of another thing as well, which I think changed for T'au, which I think actually got me most excited, and probably is where to start with this list as well, was actually the Pathfinders.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that was
very good. That's
probably
my favorite part.
That's a really cool thing. And Brian and I were talking about this, and I was texting you. I was actually quite excited about this when I first started writing this from the beginning. I was like, I'm going to have a list with 30 Pathfinders because the change to the Pathfinder rule is they used to spot 2 things, which is obviously redundant now. And what it's become is that they self-guide. So when they shoot the unit that they have observed, they get +1 ballistic skill and ignore cover. So one way to look at it is, it's an extra unit shooting that thing with a benefit. Or you could look at it as a unit which can operate independently of the army rule because you don't need a second unit to have that. And that's something that T'au has not had before in 10th edition. And I think what was really cool about that is it's a unit with a lot of special weapons and utility. They're very relevant weapons in the meta. So Pathfinders have over 20 damage 1 shots, and then giving them the ion cannons give them 30-inch range, 9 shots at 822.
Yeah, like that's it.
So what more could you want when you're expecting power armor? The other things about them as well is they scout, they infiltrate, they have grenade. Most attachments give them
I think the
most
equivalency that you said, which was really what made it click for me, was when you compared them to Kazakhstan.
I was just about to say, like, they're better Kazakhstan because they're 20 points cheaper as well, right?
They're 90 points.
90 points, wow.
And so really that's good. 9 points a model. And basically I was looking at that as like, which is the best attachment I could play them in? And because I think the core to any T'au list truly is the chaff. And I know we were saying before, Orks have good chaff. I would argue actually the T'au chaff is even better.
Historically,
chaff is great.
And if you're counting the units on the screen, I've got 20 units in my list. Like, I'm not messing about.
Speaking about Pathfinders, I can see you've got a Devilfish there as well.
So
you've decided no breaches?
I've decided no breaches because I think Pathfinders are better now.
Yeah, I mean they're cheaper by how many points?
They're 10 poits cheaper, but they are more shots, more damage. I don't need a character, so it's actually really 60 points cheaper. There's the Devilfish is there to give them some extra speed, so it's an extra 3 inches of movement. Devilfish is effectively an impulsor in that you can get out after it advances. So like there's a similarity of Kazakhstan there because it's vehicle scouts as well, but especially in Mon'ka, and something we might circle back to is in this list I can advance them 6 for a CP, so I have reliable movement with them.
They move 8 base?
7 base.
7 base.
So with a disembark that's 15,
and infiltrate
16.
and scout, right?
Yeah, they infiltrate and scout. They can have extra OC in this detachment. When you disembark from a transport, you can 1 CP reroll wounds. So I mean, super consistent. One of the key strats of this attachment is getting reroll hits on your target as well. So I mean, that's basically all of the rules you got for breaches anyway, except breaches you have to jump through hoops because you're shooting things on objectives, but that's not really relevant to this list's playstyle because ultimately my opponent's never going to be on objectives. So so when I first started building this list and thinking about Mon'ka, because we started with the Pathfinders, was like, how is it going to play the game? And it's actually the biggest change after the Pathfinders was realizing the importance of the relics in this list. So the enforcers are nice bodies to carry this because they just form like 2 killer units which are quite fast in the detachment, which gives you assault and lethal. So it's like 20 damage 2 shots, which are kind of scooting around, quite tough platforms.
What enhancements do they have?
So I've got Strategic Conqueror, which is extra OC on an objective in no man's land for the battle while that character's around.
That one's nice.
So that's really strong. So basically most of my units are doubling in OC.
That's every model.
Every model in the list.
Which is huge, right? It makes Devilfish 3. It makes the Pathfinders 2, which is huge, and then it makes Riptides go up to what?
5.
5 is
it's ridiculous.
Battlewagons are 5. 5 is a very relevant number.
It's pretty thick. The second relic is I can pick 2 units in the pre-battle phase and give them scout. 6. So and that's also anything in the list. And I think when I was playing the list before I included this with assault, I noticed that moving things 16, or if they move 10 base and you advance them 6 turn 1, lets you shoot into certain places, but if you're scouting as well, then you can shoot into every place turn 1 on UKTC.
Brutal.
So that gives an intractable problem for the opponent.
But you can also deploy in
deployment-
the open and then go backwards too,
Yeah.
which is like
So
lovely as
you
well,
could
right?
you could deploy as aggressively as you want.
Yeah.
And if you go second, you can hide those units. If you go first, you're going to shoot them from turn one, and then combining that with all these other units which are scouting and infiltrating, it gives you like tremendous forward pressure and a lot of game into melee armies as well.
Yeah. You have a huge amount of tempo, and I think historically speaking, UKTC boards have favored those fast shooting armies, particularly like this reminds me a lot of Guard in like a lot of ways, right? Because you've got you've got good OC control, you've got good move blocking, but then you've got a Hammerhead and 3 Riptides behind it, which are like a consistent shooting base, which are hard to kill, but also fast and good OC on them as well, right? So that's a fundamentally good game plan, I think.
Exactly. I feel like in some ways, I know you like to have this strategy of like going into a game, like your macro game plan of like how are you going to win the game, what are the units you need to kill to achieve that, and what are your key pieces in their roles. A list like this can almost disrespect what my opponent does in most matchups, because if your game plan is winning at deployment, then and you win the roll off, then you've already won the game where you're seeing into the deployment turn one. Like, I mean, your opponent's not getting a first turn when it goes well. So
huge. I mean, you're going to play a big tournament.
Strength.
Yeah, you're going to play a tournament, and some games you're just going to go, all right, cool, down, and then like 3 Riptides are literally on the board edge, shooting as far away from your opponent as possible into their deployment zone, and it's like,
I mean,
okay.
I think the Pathfinders being able to execute a jail,
it's huge.
is so, because I don't think that's something you frequently saw with T'au. Something you maybe could have done, maybe wasn't being done very much, but like it's it's a jail which is doing really good damage too. Like it's just powerful. I think it's just
And so funnily enough, Nassim is playing Raven Guard, and I'm just gonna say I'm
gonna destroy that. I really wanted to swear that, but I mean that I was looking at the tier list and I was thinking, it's like, I mean, that army cannot hide from me. I will kill that unit.
Zero transports.
I will kill that unit of Centurions turn one if I go first. They have 4 wounds, right? What's the damage on a Riptide? Boom, boom, boom. But so it's going to be quite interesting to play that. I think maybe as another general thing, and it could also just be personally how I look at T'au, is that like if you compare my list to maybe other people at the event, is I do have more units in my list than others. And I think moving away from the...
I was actually thought this was kind of a low count because you've got 3 tides and you've got 2 suit units.
Yeah.
Ah, so interesting. People play less than that.
So, because the general handicap T'au players like to play is with ghost kills and more hammerheads, and they go for like static gun line, because if the strategy to control objectives is dumping as much durable stuff on it, then you are playing with fewer units because they're the most expensive things. But
why do that? You just move block your opponent.
You're freeing yourself. My 5 Crute Hounds are going to win me the game on primary because of a relic.
Because you can name your expansion.
I can make them one
OC.
But like the beauty of that is then you get to take more of these other things, which actually make it harder for your opponent, because I think that T'au's weakest part of the game is like in some ways holding an objective, because they have no counterplay to being charged. But I mean, if you remove that step of the game, they can't charge you, then it actually does very, very well. So UKTC is very open. So I mean, having a gun line will always have a place. It's just how you're going to exercise that. And,
UKTC is very open when you're on the board edge, right? Like the middle is quite dense, but the board edge can create some very extreme, deep, long angles.
When you often have to like expose the unit very openly to protect that angle, which then your opponent can choose to not use that angle, and then exactly. The other thing I know I saw in this, I mean, you and I talked about this. I wanted to highlight a bit was kind of these Ethereals. So have you like I thought it was a cool idea, and you've seemed to have agreed and obviously put on your list. So.
They're my grots. So you're talking about these 40-point chaff units which generate CP and screen. I've got like 2 popes basically. I think in the tournament, if you find me, you'll see one of them has got shake weights. And the other one's holding like Gandalf's staff, and they're both gonna be like performing actions, going into the middle, triggering strats and abilities, because they're non-Crute units, which is quite relevant in Mon'ka.
I think it's another change from the slate, or near when the slate was. To make it so now Ethereals can actually guide as well. And they get a marker drone, so they're a decent guide. So I think that's sweet.
It's really helpful in this list. There's a lot of already rerolls independent of the guiding mechanic. So just having someone who can natively spot and give ignore cover is absolutely
he's
fine.
fast, right? He moves 10.
They move 10. They're really quick.
Fly.
They do fly.
Yeah.
They're standing on little drones.
It's a nice little package of 50 points, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's great. And also, like, if I'm 75% of the time getting an extra CP, it lets me use all of my rules in the game.
Yeah.
I think I was looking at it as well, and I forgot about this when designing it, but out of serendipity, I'm happy, is there's people often take in T'au lists a single crew character who gets a free strat once per battle round, because that's their way of spamming a selection of strats which allow you to target him and one other unit.
Oh, okay.
Well, the Ethereal is strictly better because you're going to have a flexible CP to use on any stratagem, and that's almost certainly going to be better even if you're getting it 75% of the time. So
you can also run in and out of the Devilfish.
yeah,
There's some
exactly.
play there as well.
Yeah, if I need to deploy every single unit on the board, I can have a Devilfish which is dedicated to transport just with an Ethereal in it.
Yeah.
And then I can have maximum on the line.
When do you pick the scouting, by the way? Is it before deployment? You have to elect which units will get the scout 6?
I'm pretty sure it's at the same time I'm scouting other units. So it's basically,
it's
we roll
pick
off,
3 units with
I
like
say,
6, I believe.
I'm going to scout these
yeah.
two.
Very good, yeah.
It's like
plus
the old
everything
War
else.
Leaders one.
It's the same as
Yes.
Invocatus.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Nice. That's excellent.
There's, so I think it's fast.
Last but not least, you got the Hammerhead. That Ion, is that the blast one?
Oh man, yeah, it's pretty dirty. So yeah, it's obviously having assault in an army means that model moves 16.
Yeah.
Which is really great from going from ruin to ruin. So it's just a blast gun, extra damage 3 shots in the list, 2 hunter killers. It's got burst cannons. All of those can split fire now without penalty and shoot all of the relevant targets. So it's just really good value, 145 points. So I think a lot of the games I'll probably play it off Ingress, which is quite nice for doing that. In a practice game, it the main gun one tap Dante and his unit of Sanguinary Guard.
Hell yeah.
Damage 3 is such a nice break
It's
point.
really nice. Yeah.
And also, I think Hammerheads natively get +1 to hit, +1 to wound.
+1 to hit against monster vehicles. They get a free reroll.
That's it. Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
They're really, really
so they're
reliable.
very efficient. You shoot the Seekers first, and if one of them doesn't connect, you get the reroll. If it does connect, you might have to reroll ones as well. You have lethals. It just they're very deadly.
Yeah. I've got the Piranha, which is the Lehman Russ tank hunter.
Yep.
So you can just turn 1, move it, and just reliably get 100% success rate on hits and wounds.
It's a joke. When Lewis and I played, Lewis was playing Calgon though.
Yeah.
He rolled 2 6s to hit, and then 6 hit, and then 1 shot.
I think I turned the melter gun into 2 shots or something, or the Seekers into 4 shots. And I was like, oops, I just slipped and killed that tank.
I mean, Piranhas is just generally pretty efficient.
Yeah.
Overall.
They have a battle shock ability too, which is relevant.
That's really good.
Battle shock, blood surge, maybe.
Yeah, that's another thing as well. It's like there's a lot of high volume multi damage. So like I have play into blood surge because they're on vehicles, so they can, I can shoot you once, you can blood surge into me, I'm gonna finish you off when you're in engagement range.
Yeah, the Riptide's great because it ignores the hit mods as well.
Exactly.
So you can blood surge into Riptide and then you can blast you.
Yeah, Fireknives ignore hit mods as well.
Yeah.
So I don't
that's
really
nice.
mind. Yeah.
Because then they're probably not in cover as well, maybe.
Yeah.
Unlikely to be. And then you don't blast, so you just.
How come you went with the 2 units of Fireknives? Because when we played, the Fireknives were pretty average.
Yeah, so other than me improving on my spotting, I've got more spotters in my list than when we played.
Okay, yeah.
I think they're the most well-rounded choice. Maybe this is like talking about in a single setting, like you could take burst cannons on them and then just have more anti-infantry shots. I think it works out actually being identical damage output as missiles into infantry. Because it's just twice the number of shots of damage 1.
Yeah.
So, except missiles are better into higher toughness things because they're strength 7, so you don't hit the strength 5 breakpoint. Shooting into T10.
Just need to make sure you have the guide on them, basically.
Exactly. They're the longest range as well. The other thing as well, I think they have one of the better datasheet rules, which is reroll hits against full strength, which synergize really well with lethal and Overwatch.
Yeah.
They're with enforcers, which give AOC, so they're just very durable. You don't need an invuln when they're getting cover minus +1 save.
The Fireknives are 130 points for 3, and the enforcers like 9 to 18.
I think it might even be like 120.
Okay,
like it's a 200
point. I think they lost 10 points in the slate.
Yeah, They have a place.
This seems like a better version of Guard in a lot of ways. Like you've got
Yeah.
you've got the same pretty similar shooting base capacity, I would say, but like your move block and your speed is dramatically higher.
Yeah. I think the
moment.
strats are better than guard.
Yes.
Because I have
There's
like
quite a lot
reroll
of that.
wounds strat. I've got auto advance.
Mhm.
I've got extra AP. I've got -1 damage at range.
Yep.
Isn't there a reroll hit strat too? Like,
Yeah, it is. When you kill one of my units, I can get army-wide reroll hits as long as it's not a Crute unit.
And if
It's actually quite good, that one.
It is very
yeah,
good.
it's very good,
So I get
yeah.
to spam it every time with the Ethereal. It doesn't in the end. It doesn't actually matter if I go second because I can just play a slower game of attrition with this, all the screens and the gun lines. So
The nice thing is that the reroll hits one when you kill a unit. I don't think it's turn locked, so you can use it in the shooting phase if they kill you, and also in the combat phase.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So you can get a 2-for-1.
Gonna get those grudge tokens out, mate.
Yeah.
That's quite good. I mean, just one CP. Okay, my unit gets oath against this unit. Like,
It's really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like T'au can be a little bit susceptible to having a bit of a swing. Like, it's not very consistent, I would say.
Yeah.
So like, I imagine like every game you're just like, cool. If like, what would be better than just having 4 rerolls to hit against the unit? Not a lot usually. You're just like, okay, killed something, 4 rerolls to hit, 5 scouts, 4 rerolls to hit. Like,
Especially with the way that this army is really playing in this aggressive style with the move blocking, like your opponent has no choice but to kill. So you're gonna have the choice of where to put those things.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
you got a repulsive executioner to kill 10 Pathfinders. You're like, cool. 4 rerolls to hit.
You got it, buddy. Good job. Yeah, sure.
I think Pathfinder's got a huge glove up. They have a lot of damage.
They are the public enemy #1, I think, in T'au.
And 5 Vespers can just up you down you as well, right?
They're very good. Yeah, they move 18
move
with
block
the
as well.
assault. They can uppy downy and score points. They can steal primary.
You got the free ingress near the
free
stealth
ingress,
teams.
so it just gives them so much flexibility.
Yeah,
kind of like the swooping hawk of
exactly.
Yeah. So
it's well rounded. Yeah.
So what armies are you looking at not playing against really?
Oh, I feel like. So the thing is, at least go back to the tier list.
Yeah.
I'll put it up like that so you can actually see.
Yeah.
What about Knights? Knights side?
So, I think one of the best strategies for beating Knights is controlling their movement. And I do believe that my army can deal with Knights when I focus fire. So I think as long as I play tight and control the firing lanes and move blocking them, then I think I've got game into that.
Okay. Lethals are very good there too, I think. And you're
like
now
my
the
army
smallest
is
being T9. You're trying 10 with Riptides.
I'm AP1.
Oh yeah, the armigers.
Yeah.
Armigers,
I'm
that's
AP1 or above, ignore cover. So I mean, I ignore a lot of their rules.
And damage 4 is you're taking kneecaps out every time you hit them. Right? That's huge.
Yeah. Exactly. So
plus the dev wounds as well.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not an army which worries me at all.
What about Aeldari?
So I think historically that is a bad matchup for T'au, but I think the threat of the turn 1 for T'au changes the matchup quite a bit in terms of how they have to deploy.
Yeah, Pathfinders are great there. You can just like if you go first, move, shoot.
I'm a lot faster than the average T'au army.
Yeah,
and usually they have the speed. I think it's closer. It's definitely closer or comparable to where I'm able to cover the distances which they once were able to cover, and also thinking about what the key units in the Eldar list at the moment is like the wave serpents with Fugan and the fire dragon. Like I can control the movement of that with move blocks because in the end, I can. And I guess it's the same as the playstyle for guard. It's like the safest way to keep your tanks is not letting them get in range behind or from charging them or otherwise. Like I mean, 12, 18-inch range melter guns is something which I can control.
I imagine that they would be able to hunt your chaff pretty well though. Was the thing I'd be worried about. Like hawks and spiders can flame 10 Pathfinders and then maybe overwatch another chaff unit if you go second. Like that would be the tough part, I think.
It's also where the strength of a Devilfish comes in as well. Is being able to control that, and ultimately, like I think I'm set up to play a cagey trading game, and if it ends up with me just having Riptides at the end, then I'm feeling pretty happy.
Yeah, it's not the worst.
They've only got in the end, like they only really have one unit, which answers my big threat, which is the fire dragons. So there's room for error.
Yeah, for sure.
And for me to capitalize on that, so it's probably up there. I think.
I could see Combined Arms Guard being a little bit difficult for you, maybe, unironically. just because 2-up save, toughness 12, lethals against vehicles, and they've got kind of an equal amount of chaff. That one I think could be a little bit difficult.
Imagine skewy world eaters as well, like 70 berserkers could go slowly.
That is true. But I think any other T'au build that I could have, it would be even worse.
Would be similar problems for both those armies.
I think I've got it as good as I can get into these armies, at least from that point of view. Yeah. Like if you want to have an answer to a melee army, it's the board control and being able to shoot them at the staging. I think Mon'ka has that. Yeah. So it gives me a shot.
Gives you a game. Definitely gives you
a game.
Sure.
Yeah. And I mean, like if you take EC for example, if you're making Boris on our team uncomfortable, saying I don't know how I can win the army, then I think you're doing something right.
You're doing okay. Yeah. I mean, at least it gives you an outlet. Even if your toughest matchup, you've still got a way of winning, right? Like you can always infiltrate first, go first, like jam and push, scout move, play a super aggressive line, take the board. Like then the game's wide open, which I think is always a good like game plan to have up your sleeve. Especially in a tournament where like the difference between winning one game and losing one game could be like 4th place, 3rd place, or like 8th place, or top cut or not top cut. And so just having the army, like having the potential in your army for that, I think is really useful in like some of these big, deeper tournaments where you might beat a lot of players just on skill, and then you've got a huge amount of potential behind it in the game that really matters. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I've played like 5 games where I'm just a lot better than my opponent, or 6 games. Now I've got the very, very hard game against whoever, Joe Blogs or whatever, and it's a bad matchup, but I've still got that potential of like, okay, you still need to respect my army, which I think is really good.
And I guess the irony is like, when you go to these events and you think about who you're preparing to beat, let's say, or and I'm not trying to imply that that's what either of you have done or you would generally do, but I think there's it's quite interesting to see in the end, like you might be thinking about the later rounds more than the earlier rounds, and the kind of people you could be playing against, and like if you look at the list which other very high caliber players have brought, and you see how that lines up into yours, maybe you feel a bit more comfortable and just think, I've just got to get through those X games and then focus on the really hard ones.
I mean, the amount that we play, it's like you don't really go to LGT to go 4-1. You know what I mean? It's like you kind of want to go like all for it or like not really for it. You know what I mean? It's like you might as well try and like win the whole damn thing.
For
like
sure.
Who remembers who got like 9th place at last year's LGT? Like I don't know, whatever, right? It was me, yeah.
It was you. You're welcome. You're welcome.
As I said, fuck, that was me. But like, you kind of want to like, have something that could like win the whole thing, right?
Yeah. But I think without question, all 3 of us have brought an army that we enjoyed playing.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to have fun irrespective of the results.
Yes. That is actually the most important thing, is having fun. For sure. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I've got all my models over there. I'm still painting up and stuff like that. And, got a lot of dudes.
Have you mentioned, I guess, in the last episode that I think there were 7 out of 8 of us are at this event?
Yes.
7 different factions?
7 different factions. Yeah. So we've got me on Black Templars, Vic on Aeldari, Lewis on T'au, you on Orks, Liam on CSM, Chris Radford on Blood Angels, and the last person I'm missing is... Boris on Emperor's Children. I mean, that's a good meta, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Chris, technically we've got Blood Angels at B tier, but I think you could definitely make an argument for that being an A tier. And I think we're basically all playing like A tier army that we each think could probably beat any other A tier army if we just played better than your opponent, right?
And then my Orks in the middle would be.
Oh, you've got Orks in the middle would be.
But it's a Fireside tier, so of course it could be higher than me. No one ever get higher.
Yeah. I do feel like a lot of games at the moment, you feel like you lose because you've played poorly. That's my experience. But I do think that the UKTC boards do give you some roads to like just losing because of the matchup and the board combo. That's the only bad part I feel about it, is like, I can see how I could really struggle against like maybe Lewis's lift if he like infiltrates, goes first, and I'm on a shit board. He moves, blocks me, shoots down one angle. I'm like, well, okay, Or maybe like Raven Guard if I go second, and he's like, okay, cool, comes in, shoots me down one angle. I'm like, okay, I can't really do much there. But other than that, it feels like you lose because like you misdeployed something, you didn't like play the tempo of the game right, or something like that.
No, for sure. Should be an interesting event, though. I'm really quite excited for it.
Who would you think? You got 2 players to pick. Who do you think's got the most potential to win it, and you can't pick yourself?
Oh, I was going to say Liam.
For reference, I picked Liam and Vic. So
okay, most potential to win it. I think Olivier's list is quite interesting.
Yeah, so he's got Raven Guard and Gladius, right?
Yeah.
Which is really a strange one.
Yeah, well, I think I talked to him a little bit about it. He said it mostly because the way that the UKTC has rolled it so far, Raven Guard don't get the +1
to wound.
Yeah. So he's opted for this kind of a Gladius build, a more dynamic kind of build there. Yeah. So I think it's quite interesting, and he's obviously in a phenomenal.
I mean, he's like such a good Space Marine innovator, right? So I mean, he played Raven Guard like a couple of years back. I remember when I was playing 18 Warriors and Leviathan, I think, and he did very well there.
Yeah, I think he doesn't have any scent.
No, he's got no scent devs. He just got like he's
more
mostly combat.
Guards. Yeah, exactly.
But the Raven Guard characters are very good in combat,
Very
so
good.
maybe that's where he was coming from that perspective.
So I think that's really interesting, and then just kind of. Again, not pick people on the couch and keep it interesting. I would say I really like Innis's list as well.
Yo, interesting. That's a controversial one.
Yeah,
interesting.
I think that Innis has. I think Stormlance is just the best detachment.
Really, that's so fascinating. Yeah, because Liam thinks the same thing as well. And then for a singles perspective, I think Gladius is by far like
I agree as well, though.
You think Stormlance is better?
I think so. When I recommend Ultramarines to people as well, and Space Marines especially, I'm like, play the Storm Raven in Stormlance. It's really strong.
I just, for the viewers that don't know, at ETC, I just got subjected to Innis playing the Storm Raven. It was in Grey Knights.
He's very good at that model.
Yes. It's also just a very good model, right? So between my games against John and Team USA practice and then my game against Innis, I just know how good that model is. It's very powerful. A lot of weird and abstract ways you can play and do things with it. And it holds a Redemptor Dreadnought inside of it.
Yes, it certainly does.
Something I remember at this exact moment.
Yeah. Where does it hold it?
It disembarks in the back and then comes out the side of the wing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think I think that his list looks quite cool. I think that 2-up armor saves are actually kind of decent right now. There's a lot of AP1.
Yeah.
You know, so that with AOC is powerful. Advance and charge always is just really good.
Yeah.
You know, so it should be
no fight on death though.
No fight on death, but
I think that's the main reason you play Gladius is for the fight on death. As far as I've played
combat meta, I can definitely see that. But the Storm Raven helps in that space because while it's not combat, it's blasting the staging places quite effectively.
And you know what? Maybe the Redemptor Dreadnought is the new Ballistus Dreadnought. Now that I think about it, because the Ballistus went up 10, but the Redemptor is like good at shooting and combat, and you can put it on an expansion heroic onto it with Gilliman or Calgar. Yeah. Maybe that's like a bit of the logic there.
I think it's also a good model to have into like the World Eaters with the AP1 damage 1. You AOC and you hit them back in melee. It's -1 damage, so it negates a lot of that.
It came down a lot too, I think. Right?
I think it's 190.
Yeah, it came down
195. Yeah, so it's like it's a bit
interesting model.
Better. Yeah.
How do you think that list does into Aeldari? Because
I think that's one of their hardest matchups.
That's got to be one of the hardest ones, right? Because 99% of Aeldari players are playing the Wave Serpent and Fuegan.
Yeah, I think that it is not as bad as it seems on paper because of the terrain set.
Oh, okay.
Like I think the Storm Raven is similar to why Lewis's list is so fast and will turn these angles. The Storm Raven in that list and that army is so fast.
Okay, yeah.
I say it's moving just as far.
It's 26 in shooting.
So maybe you can pick up
so it sees the same way.
I think it's like it's doing that, or it's like turning a corner and killing like 5 units.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just gonna attrition a lot of things, and then I think that it's got a game there. I think it's probably one of the harder matchups if I had to guess. But you know, Stormlance is still. It's similar to Gladius in that there's a lot of really powerful effects, right? Reactive moves and all that kind of stuff. Flat 6 always, I think, for them as well.
I think he can reactive move a grand total of 1 unit in his army.
Is it just one?
Just Calgar, I think.
Just Calgar?
I believe so. Maybe there's a second unit. Maybe like the Incursus or something as well. But
Okay.
But it's basically the -1 to hit and wound.
The combi lieutenant.
Advance and shoot is quite big for his army, for sure.
And then auto advance 6 for 2.
Because he can advance and shoot. He can advance, shoot, and charge the Redemptor Dreadnought.
Yeah.
Because it can advance and charge with Stormlance, and then advance and shoot for the stratagem, which is pretty nice. I mean, what else do you want on that thing?
And coming out of those big L's like across the strip. Coming like disembarking, running through that space.
That's pretty nice. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. So that thing could be quite good. And shooting is pretty good.
I feel like Innis is really good at playing like a bit off meta adjacent.
Yes.
Right? You know,
all of his lists always end up being really either it's like solved because he's the one who solved it, or it's like a weird thing which usually ends up being pretty good. Maybe it's not perfect always, but it's really usually ends up quite good, and there's always a deliberate reason why he's doing it. So it'd be cool to see how he does.
Nice. And what about you, Lewis? Anything you're liking the look of?
Well, I haven't been looking as closely at the armies, so I mean the funny thing which I've said, but it has almost been stolen by Brian, is I kind of low key want to see himself, me, and Liam all run it back again in podium with the exact same armies as last year.
That'd be cool.
I mean, it would be very nice. So I mean, I guess ultimately I am betting against myself to a degree because I'm saying I'm not going to win it, but it would be cool. To see a similar
Ignite
result.
finals again.
Yeah,
it was pretty special last year.
I
would love to see Liam win it again.
Liam winning the 3-pit, I was about to say.
Yeah.
Would, I think, be one of, if not the coolest things that's ever happened.
I feel like I'd probably throw my game just so he can
You heard it here first. If he loses the Liam, it's because he threw.
Exactly.
Not because he got beaten.
Yeah, well, there we go. Like, the tournament's in a couple of days. I'm playing the Invitational as well. Lewis, you're also playing the Invitational?
Yeah,
and you've got the exact same list?
I want to get a few more practice games.
Same with
You're
me.
playing Black Templars.
Yeah. I think it's kind of nice to not really play much the week before, like on the Monday to Thursday. And then, like, Friday, you've got your Invitational where it's like, I don't know the way you look at it, but, like, for me, it's kind of just, like, a fun to go and, like, play some games.
Yeah.
I was this close to submitting, like, a Hell Hammer, which is a Titanic guard model. But then I was like, you know what, I might as well just like spend more time painting and then like go play on Friday, get warmed up, get back in the groove. Like we haven't been playing on that terrain set very much, I don't think, so it'd be nice to get some games in
the in-person helps a lot.
Yeah.
There'll be people there that we know quite well.
Yeah, I've got Scary in my pod. Do you think Dark Eldar have got the potential?
I think Dark Eldar are quite good because Sokka's also in Dark Eldar.
Yes, yeah. I haven't seen his list.
Cool. Yeah, so Alex is like, I played a similar list to I think what Alex submitted. At ETC, actually, one of the earlier rounds. Yeah. And, Alex is obviously incredible players, so they're really good. But he's got the triple Scourge, 2 with Lances and 1 with Haywire.
Oh, yeah.
But then he's also got like a 10-man Hellion unit. I don't think he has the court.
Okay, because Scary's gone off the court as well, apparently.
Yeah, which is interesting. I think the court is good, but also I think it's like a missile that gets used and kind of goes away.
Yeah.
But I think Drukari are just pretty good. I mean, we played against StatCheck at ETC, and Pal was on the list, a German Drukari player, and he's great. And he did really well with it.
Scourges are really good on UKTC boards, I find, as well.
Yeah,
like, you just have like these perpendicular L shapes that are like, okay, move, shoot down the board edge at you.
Yeah.
Like I would be playing Dark Lance ones, or just jump out, shoot down the board edge, jump back in. You're like, okay, cool. Heroics, my fight's first unit when you try and charge my expansion objective, and yeah, I think they're in a really good spot as well.
Yeah, so I think that should be pretty interesting.
And there's a lot of power armor around as well.
Yeah,
I think.
I just like
really good
between Alex and Scar, you have 2 incredibly good players.
Yeah,
Scar in particular, he's a specialist, right? He is the Archon, so it'll be interesting to see how well he does at the event.
Yeah. Any sleeper factions for you guys?
For me, I was pretty impressed with Grey Knights, but. Now that Innis isn't playing them, I think I'm maybe not expecting as much for it. I think it's not so much a sleeper, but I'm very curious how Voton does.
Oh yeah, interesting. Yeah.
I think they're quite good.
Yeah.
But there also might be hobby lag that stops people from, because I think some of the best things in the army are the newest things.
Yeah,
like the melee steel jacks and the new transport, stuff like that. I think those are really good, and I haven't gotten around to them in time. Maybe they have, but also I don't know. I would imagine Greg might be playing the army.
Yeah, they haven't really made a big splash yet, and I played Tim multiple times on them as well.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm really curious how Imperial Knights do as well.
I was actually thinking Chaos Knights, because I know they were just left, but I'm actually expecting to still be one of the better armies into this melee meta.
Seems great.
Yeah.
I know
like
Jack
still
Tide,
having the spoilers.
Yeah, I think Jack Tide is still playing the Rodigus build. I think the one that Nathan Roberts played as well
like
at ETC.
The
3.5. They're 3.5 basically with like a couple of carnivores and some middles. Yeah, I mean, it's always fascinating when the meta has such a dramatic shift that, like, okay, stuff does get nerfed, but then people overcompensate, and then all of a sudden that gains a little bit of strength because people are not really expecting or compensating it against it anymore as well. And like we've been talking about, just deep long-range shooting is pretty good. Like, these are probably some of the better despoiler boards you can ask for, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Which is, that's not to spoil anything, but they can shoot your deployment zone.
Yeah, it's good.
And be far away from your army at the same time.
Yeah, it'll be cool also to, as you were saying as well, the IK and seeing how it pans out.
Yeah.
New codex, and I know they picked up kind of an early days nerf to some of their strats. Yeah, they were quite powerful, but I still think it's a pretty decent army. So
yeah. I really like the armature detachment with the -1 damage. I think that's like definitely something to look into. I mean, Ennis is playing the triple Redemptor for like the -1 damage spam against, which is very good against Black Templars, World Eaters, and probably Emperor's Children as well. So like, I feel like the armatures, are still, I don't think many armies are coming to the board and being able to kill like a big knight and like all the armatures at the same time.
Yeah,
that could be tough for some people maybe.
I think the IK, like I haven't really tried to dissect the book as much, so I'm really hoping, there was that initial splash that got nerfed, but I really hope there's some more stuff that maybe some dedicated pilot has really discovered and really crushes with. So
we have absolutely 0 knight players on our team.
Yes.
Ignite. Yes. Just the way it should be. We've got 0 Custodes players.
It's actually one of the requirements to join Ignite.
Yeah, you cannot be a knight player, a Deathwing knight player, or a Custodian Warden knight player.
Exactly. These are the requirements for entry.
You can't play. Yeah. Awesome, guys. Well, that's been it. I mean, I think we've got the best Ork player from last year, and then the best T'au player from last year, or the best respective people on their faction in the UK anyway, if not the world, playing the new list. So I think both the guys' armies have changed quite a bit recently, which is really cool as well. So be interested to see how it goes.
Yeah.
Can you get through 20 boys and Gaz, or are you getting it move blocked in your deployment zone and shot in turn 1, Either way, it sounds like a tough...
get stabbed by the Crusaders, eh?
Yeah. Maybe they'll hit him with the pointy end.
That's a good strategy.
All right, guys. Catch you later. See you next time. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thank you for listening to the 40k Fireside. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, drop us a comment, check out the YouTube members area, and we look forward to seeing you again next time by the Fireside.